What's up, everyone? Welcome to Wednesday Night Mythic Conversations. As always, I am your host, Gerard. I am a Mythic Legions collector and customizer who also has the distinct privilege of being the digital marketing manager for Four Horsemen Studios, which means that the content that you see at sourcehorseman.com, the official place for all things Legions, is content that I help to bring you. I also post a lot of my own customs, my own work and ideas using Mythic Legions. You can check that out online. The best place to do that is on my Instagram page, at Mythic Customs on Instagram. Of course, I'm also here every single Wednesday night for Mythic Conversations, the weekly Legion show where we talk about everything going on in the world of Four Horsemen Studios and the Legions lines. Definitely skewed towards customizing because that's a big part of what I do. That's a big part of the kind of energy that I bring to the community in terms of the customizing of these figures. So a little bit of everything here. Some weeks we have interviews. We talked to other members of the community last week. If you checked it out, I had the wonderful Eric Miller on with me. This week, just me. Going to be talking about everything that happened this weekend. Huge weekend in the world of Legions with the release of Mythic Legions, Legion Builder reinforcements. Talk about that and what's going on. And then, of course, we're going to get to the topic at hand. Tonight, we're going to talk all about Minotaurs. Got a couple guys hanging out with me. A couple friends join me tonight to help me illustrate what I am talking about. Of course, it is called Mythic Conversations for a reason. And conversation is a two-way street. There is a chat right here in YouTube. If you have any questions, if you have any comments along the way, things you want to talk about, hit me up in the comments throughout the evening. I go back and I do repeatedly try to cover all of that. So a lot of people, as every week early on, just kind of saying welcome. A lot of people saying where they were from: Philadelphia, Mexico, Texas. Apparently Mythic Conversations is the #1 Mythic Legions YouTube show Wednesday nights in Mexico. Well, that's good to hear, Curtis. New York, Rhode Island. Nice. And a fellow Rhode Islander, Nicholas. Nice to have you here. We mustn't live too far apart because, hell, we live in Rhode Island and nothing is far apart in Rhode Island. Let's see. Okay. Just getting down to the questions. A lot of people talking about Minotaurs, excited for the Minotaur conversation. Yeah. When I get to it, I talk to you about how this week kind of came to be. It was actually an interesting way that I came about the topic for tonight. Greg saying, how many reinforcements did Jeremy buy? 75. You are a little bit high. Seriously, only a little though. Yeah, reinforcements was an absolute awesome opportunity for customizers like myself to stock up on these figures. I've long said it, that Legion builders provide such a wonderful base palette to use for Mythic Legions customs for two reasons, very clear and obvious ones. The price point, all the basic figures were $25 a piece. That is a wonderful starting price to get. When you figure a regular figure during a pre-order is $37 from secondary retailers, minimum of $50. Getting $25 for a figure that's an incredible value. Additionally, the fact that Legion builders are, for the most part, a single color. And I mean, there are some differences there. Obviously, like take the Orc Legion builder. So the Orc Legion builder is not a single color. It's because it's got the green arms, and then it's got like the kind of gunmetal armor. Same thing with the Skeleton Legion builder, the bone arms and legs, and then it's got the gunmetal armor. But then when you talk about like say the Bronze Dwarf Legion builder, or even the Goblin, outside of the Goblin's head and neck, that's all one color. So that single color provides a really great base to work on because, I mean, the Bronze Dwarf is a great example. That particular color, that it's almost a blackish type color. Whenever I customize on that figure, I don't even have to like, if I'm going to start with a base coat of black, I don't have to because it's already kind of got that base color that I need. Similar to some other figures in the line that have that base black, like Torian, which we're going to talk about a little later. So I definitely took this as an opportunity to stock up my fodder piles, or my base figure piles, I guess we could say, so I could execute on some of the ideas that I'm excited to share with you throughout the coming year. Nicholas, I did not buy 75 of my own figure. I did get a couple though. So that was obviously the big surprise, was Sir Gerard got dropped into the sale. There was a lot of debate about where he was going to appear, and we talked about it. And it was, I don't want to say it was a last minute decision to add him, but it was not, it was never in the cards. Like we never said, oh, let's drop Sir Gerard in with reinforcements. That was not the original idea. To put him in now makes a lot of sense. On Legion's Lounge this past Monday, which, by the way, Legion's Lounge, my friend Trevor, 16 Shooter, on his YouTube page, along obviously with Nate and Bill, they do a great show. They had a really fun one this past week where they had the two guys from Legion's Lair on. That was a really fun conversation to listen to. But they did a great job of really breaking down the reinforcements. I don't want to rehash everything they did because really they covered it very, very well. But some of the stuff that they talked about on there, they were talking about the Sir Gerard being added and how kind of changed around some budgets for people. But Chris Gorich from the studio was actually in the chat, and he had mentioned a very logical point, that adding Sir Gerard into this sale, as opposed to maybe doing him on his own, definitely helps with shipping. So, people that wanted to add a couple Sir Gerard figures in with the rest of their reinforcements, that was obviously very helpful from a shipping standpoint. I have a Sir Gerard right behind me. So this is the one, this is the standard edition. So this is the one that was dropped into the sale. The original plan, as you know, was that the Legion's Con version, which comes in the nice box with the Legion's Con logo, that was originally supposed to be the only one that came with the skeleton head, the one that looks like Scapular. A lot of people have speculated that when Chris and George did the live stream a few months ago and they opened one of these standard editions and they discovered the skeleton head inside, that was all a lark, that it was totally planned. It absolutely, I've said this many times, people seem to not believe it. It was not planned at all. It's hysterical. Chris was actually showing me the kind of invoice or the shipping manifest or whatever from the factory, and it literally says Sir Gerard one head version. That's what it was called. They called this the one head version. But they made a mistake. They did put the skeleton head in these packages. So best kind of mistake, I guess, a mistake that benefits all the fans. So the Sir Gerard figures that were sold in this weekend's reinforcement sale do have the bonus head. On display, it's kind of cool. If you are a min in package person, or maybe you do keep some in package, if you've got the Legion's Con version, that one actually has the skeleton head on it in the package. And the bio on the side shows the skeleton. The bio is the same for both of them, but obviously this one, the standard version, shows the helmeted head, and the helmeted head is what's on in the package. So super cool. It's kind of awesome and humbling. I've been seeing a lot of people talking about how many Sir Gerards they grabbed. That makes me super, super happy. It was funny. I did see one comment where Sir Gerard didn't sell out right away, and people were surprised about that. And there's a legit reason why. I won't go into it, but I did see someone comment that maybe the studio overestimated the demand for the figure. And it just made me chuckle for a moment, because if you order too few and they sell out immediately, everyone is upset, rightfully so, that they didn't have access to it. But if it lasts more than, I guess, 2 minutes, people think that you overestimated demand. The reality is it sold out within 24 hours. I didn't even make it to 11 p.m. on Sunday when the order limits were lifted. So I think that they gauged demand for him pretty darn good. So thank you to everyone that picked up a Sir Gerard. You get to have a little mini me in your collection. Okay, going down. I'm sure I'm way behind on comments now. Waiting for my reinforcement barbarian so I can do a Minotaur custom. Can't wait to see the centaurs. Been a rough week. Reinforcements and Mezco Conan, bye money. Yeah, Justin. There was also right before reinforcements. Was it on Friday? If you collect Mezco and you collect 112 Collective, they dropped their Captain Nemo figure, which is an awesome figure. They dropped a 2-pack for Nemo's Nautilus crew, along with an accessory, a Wave Rider vehicle and accessory set. So that was a super expensive day for a lot of collectors. The one they dropped today actually is notable. I know a lot of people were kind of getting the Mezco Conan, or they wanted the Mezco Conan to put that with their legions. Been a very hard figure to get a hold of, kind of an expensive figure. Mezco today dropped a exclusive version of Conan. Same basic figure, a couple pieces, some accessories from the original aren't in there, but a lot of additional accessories that are new to this version are in there. Additionally, they did put up a barbarian accessory pack. It's got a couple heads. It's got a fur robe, fur cloak, and a padded vest type thing or jacket type thing. A bunch of weapons. Looks really cool. Actually, probably would work with Mythic Legions. Mezcos tend to skew a little smaller than Legions, so I don't know. The cape I'm sure will be fine because it's big. The jacket, I'm not sure how great it will look on 1.0 barbarian characters, but it's a $40 accessory set. Looks super cool. You can check out mezcotoys.com if you want to take a look at that. If you're looking for some pieces to use to put into your Mythic Legions, definitely worth considering. Robo Zeus says, my first figure. So I assume you're talking about reinforcements, that your first Legions figures are going to be reinforcements. That's awesome, by the way. We did actually see quite a few first-time buyers on Store Horsemen. So Saturday was a super fun day for me. Chris and I were on we were on the phone with each other literally almost all day. Before the sale, making sure that everything looked right and we were ready to launch on time. And then certainly while the sale started going, we were monitoring everything to make sure it went smoothly. And it did, for the most part, go very, very smooth. We had one little hiccup with the figure stands, but for the most part, fans seem to be pretty happy with the reinforcements sale. We said a lot of people were expecting an in-stock sale, a weekly ISS type debacle where you got to get in there, get it in your cart and check out. And we had said, look, we ordered quite a few. We think that these will last at least a little while, and they did. I think Nate said that the Black Knight Legion builder, which is the one that sold out first, that one lasted a couple hours, an hour and a half or whatever. I forget. I thought it lasted longer than that. But anyway, they definitely lasted long enough that I think most fans were able to get what they wanted. There's always going to be some people that miss out, that get in late. They weren't aware that there was a sale. It happens. Absolutely. We worked really, really hard through the Instagram page, through the website, through the email to notify people of the sale. But there's always gonna be people fall through the cracks. You miss them. Hopefully there's a ton of these out there now. Those who missed out, a big part of being in the Mythic Legions community is making friends, you know, doing trades or finding a buddy that can hook you up. So I'm sure there are going to be people that have extras of these. Hopefully those that missed out can find someone to help them out. But it was super cool. We were monitoring that, and we were able to see some brand new first-time buyers. So that's always cool to see. Obviously, that's the sign of a healthy, growing line. We want to see more of that. Chris and I did do a live stream on Saturday afternoon. That's actually on the Four Horsemen's YouTube channel. That was a lot of fun as well. You want to check that out. One of the things I mentioned in that stream that I did with my purchase was I did buy a couple extra Legion builders specifically to give them out as gifts. I do know, you know, some fellow figure collectors that are not Legions collectors. They're aware of Legions, perhaps certainly because of me, but they've never pulled the trigger. They never actually bought one. So I want to get them hooked. I mean, they'll love me for the gift and they'll hate me for the addiction after, right? But I want to them to experience what Legions are all about. So I did buy a couple extras specifically to give them out to a few friends that I know that I think would enjoy them that aren't currently Legions fans. So those of you who do have some extras, consider it. Consider hooking somebody up with an extra figure. I've heard actually a number of people in the Legions community mention that that's how they get started. That someone, whether it was Walter Hagen or, you know, Lord Stephen, sent them a free figure to get them hooked, and now they're all in. So that's always a very cool thing to do. Yeah. So as far as the sale goes, a number of the figures sold out before the order limits were lifted. You know, Black Knight went first, followed by Templar, followed by the Barbarian. Then the Orc sold out on Sunday morning, followed by the Sir Gerard. And then since then, the Bronze Dwarf Legion builder, that is now gone. So it's just these skeletons and the goblins that are available. Two amazing, amazing figures. Certainly, if you haven't picked up extras, if you follow me, you know I love the goblins, not only because goblins are freaking cool, but a lot of the critters that I'm super fond of that I help create, I put those on goblin bases. So having some extra goblins, if you dig the critters, never a bad idea. As far as skeletons go, they're always cool. If you follow the Legions Shop Instagram page, I actually posted some really cool teasers of some printed pieces of some ghouls that I worked on with Tristan from Immortal Collections. Those are going to be hitting Legion Shop next month. Super pumped about that. So extra skeletons. Joseph saying that he thought Sir Gerard would be with the All-Stars 4 in stock. That would have been another place that he could have dropped. Absolutely. Great surprise. Yes, Nicholas, it was a nice mistake for the fans. Left me with a little egg on my face as the Legions Con promoter, but again, any mistake that greatly benefits fans is one that I'll happily live with. Let's see. Dwarves are all kitted out. Eric saying, not going to hurt my feelings if I can get goblins whenever I want. Okay, let's see. Just trying to catch up on all this. So this is a great one. So, yo, Jeremy, this is the first time I actually made purchases based upon customizing ideas. Kudos to you for hammering the functionality of Legion Builders home all these many months. Hear that? I'm hoping my bosses from the studio hear the comment that they bought extra stuff because of me pushing all the customizing. That's never a bad look for Jeremy. So that's an awesome comment. Thank you very, very much for saying that. But yeah, absolutely, that's one of the things I think about. And this was the perfect, like I said, sale to do it, because being able to grab, a couple figures, extra figures at 25 each, just because you have custom ideas, or like I bought extra dwarves and goblins because I know I tend to use those base formats a lot. I'll give you an example. I bought fewer Templars than most people probably did. The Templars are an awesome figure, but I actually have a bunch of them. And while you can take the Templar and you can make other Templars, certainly, or you can paint the tunic area a different color to make a different kind of knight, I don't find that figure for my customs as versatile as I do the goblins and the dwarves. So I went a little heavier on those particular figures. I didn't go super heavy on orcs. I think they were talking about this on Legion's Lounge as well. There was a point where green-skinned orcs, I was like, I need more of those. But between Vorthog and what I picked up in Mythic Legion's Tactics, those deluxe orc builder sets, the need for green orcs was not as intense. Now, I will say that the green orc Legion builder paired with that Tactics bonus pack is going to be awesome. Like being able to swap parts from those two, that is going to be super, super cool. But I didn't go crazy heavy on those. Barbarians as well. Barbarians, more expensive figure at $55. Amazing figure. One of the best figures to give somebody if you want to drop 55 on that, to get them hooked into the line and to understand what the line's about. But again, didn't go crazy on that. So I really went heavy on Black Knights, Bronze Dwarves, Goblin Legion builders. Those are where in skeletons. Those are really where I focused because I know there's gonna be some versatility in those when it comes to customizing. Very cool. Sales and releases are coming pretty quick. How far-fetched would it be to think there's another big event announcement coming in the next couple of weeks, or is it just random? No, it's definitely not random. We plan out the entire year. It does definitely feel like things come close together, and some of that, we've talked about this before. It's really hard. Like a lot of people felt, for instance, that Cosmic and Poxus were super, super close. And it's like, the problem is when you do these 6 to 8 week pre-orders, the end of one, it might only be a month away from the beginning of another, but you got to remember that it's like, okay, well, we started Cosmic 2 months prior to when it ended, and we're going to let Poxus go 2 months after where it begins. So somebody who gets on, the big pre-order Cosmic on the last day, yes, for them, the start of the next pre-order is going to feel really, really soon. But somebody that got in on day one, I mean, it's 2 months away. So the bottom line is, when we go through the schedule and look at when we should do stuff, we're always saying, are these too close together? How much time are they going to run? We try to make them as palatable as possible. But at the end of the day, it's a toy company. The job is to produce toys. So trying to find that happy medium, because for every person that's like, wow, please slow down, there's too much coming out, there's other people that are like, okay, I'm done that pre-order, what's next? Give me more, give me more. So it's finding that balance between the two. At the end of the day, everyone wants to see product. Everyone wants stuff in hand. The only way to do that is to have pre-orders. So eventually stuff does come a little bit close to each other. You're going to see some instances where stuff is much further apart, sometimes where it's a little bit closer together. It's just really the way the schedules work. But none of it is random. Joe saying, I'm trying to get over the fact that y'all lied to me in the cabal about Sir Gerard being in reinforcements when I guessed it the day before. Just kidding. I was completely stoked to see him. That was a really, really hard one, because I tried to not answer that question. Like if I saw it in the comments, I would just go over it. But there would be some times where it would get addressed to me and I couldn't just ignore it. At that point, you're kind of like, okay, do I lie? It's really tough. You do want there to be a level of surprise. And I know that there were some people that said, oh, I wish I would have known more and well in advance so I could have planned better. Again, happy medium. trying to have a sense of surprise and delight, hearing from people that they went in and when they saw him, they like, they were like, oh my God, there he is. That sense of, I mentioned this to Chris the other day, that sense of like when I used to go toy hunting, walking into the aisle, the toy aisle of or the action figure aisle of a Toys R Us or a KB or whatever, and going to look for, say, Spawn figures, huge into McFarlane Spawn back then, taking that corner and seeing a new case on the pegs, there was that like gasp moment where you stop and you're like, they're there. You've been looking for them. You've been hunting. There they are. That is a really cool feeling that we don't get a ton of online anymore outside of secret drops. So trying to balance that, secret drops can be problematic. So how do we do things that have that sense of delight and surprise while giving people hints? If you were on the Cabal, you saw Joe Vassapolo and myself dropping a number of hints on Friday night. Totally Joe's idea. He contacted me Friday night and said, hey, why don't we do a bunch of fun pictures, mixing pieces of the reinforcements with Sir Gerard, almost like Sir Gerard's been hanging out in the reinforcements all the time. Remember, Sir Gerard is a changeling, so you never know where he's going to pop up or where he's hiding. So we thought that would be a lot of fun, and a lot of people had speculated Sir Gerard would appear. That kind of let them know that they were right. But Joe, I am very sorry for having to be less than honest when you ask those questions, but hopefully all's well that ends well. Okay, a lot of comments tonight. Thank you very much for the engagement. I very much enjoy doing this. It is my favorite part of the week. Okay, payday's tomorrow. Planning on picking up some more goblins for the mouse kits. That is awesome, definitely. Just actually had a long conversation with Len LaGuardia from Wolf King Customs today, planning out the next Wolf King sale. The next Wolf King sale will have mouse parts and gnome parts in it, both of which use those Goblin Legion Builder bodies. So if you missed out on the mouse parts previously, specifically the mouse head, hands and feet, and the Night Mouse helmet, those will all be back. The hooded mouse that we showed previously, that head will be available as well. And as far as the gnomes go, the Tinker Gnome that I showed recently on my Instagram page, the Tinker Gnome will be available, and one more that we have yet to show. So there'll be a couple different gnome kits, couple different mouse kits, and the parts are going to all be available separately too if you want to mix and match and have some fun with that. So extra goblins, not a bad idea at all. Let's see. Trying to catch up here. Chris says that sale was amazing. Thank you very much, Chris. Yeah, we were pretty happy with it. That was a lot of fun. And like I said, now if you caught the 4 Horsemen o'clock, which happened at not 4 o'clock, but at 5 o'clock today, process has already started on getting those Legion builders ready to go. All of the orders have been processed, which what that means is the packing slips and the labels, all that stuff. They're getting ready to have all that ready to go so they can start pulling and packing. This is going to take a little while. It'll take a few weeks probably to get all these out. Because as Chris mentioned, there were no all-ins or anything, so there's no easy orders to ship out. The only easy orders are probably people that ordered one figure, and let's be honest, there's not a ton of those. Lots of people ordered lots of figures. Some huge orders in this. Even some of the small orders are still 6, 8, 10 figures. So there is going to take time to be able to say, okay, I need 2 of these and 1 of these and 3 of these. So they're on their way. They've got their work cut out for them. Bear with them. They will get there. The reinforcements will enter our legions soon enough. Any other questions on that? Anything else going on? Actually, other news, speaking of sales, Legion Shop, we dropped a number of painted heads on the store last night, and they absolutely flew. Almost as if people have a whole bunch of base bodies to work with right now, right? awesome painted heads. We actually got a package in from Drew Grubbs and a package from Melissa Somerville. Both of those artists killed it. They did such amazing work. Literally almost everything they sent us sold out before night's end. Anyone who missed out on the painted heads that Drew did from Jeremy Wilson, that would be the Bald Knight and the Mean Joe head. Those, we're going to get Drew to paint some more of those, so no worries, they'll be back. Melissa did an awesome rendition of the Vampire Sentinel, like the Vampire Knight looking head. Super, super cool. She has agreed to do another small run of those. So we will get them back in. If you do want those, there is a notify me when available feature on Legion Shop. Best way to be notified when those return. But outside of those, obviously, quick plug, there's a ton of stuff on Legion Shop. Custom heads, painted and unpainted, custom weapons, custom diorama mats, amazing artwork from Nate Barch. All of that is there. If you got your reinforcements, if you're thinking of customizing, Legion Shop is a great place to see an incredible array of pieces from a variety of artists in the Mythic Legions community. So check that out. Hopefully pick up some cool parts for yourself. Okay, so I will answer other questions. Star, I read that Cosmic Legions is ahead of schedule. Any truth to that? Yes, it is ahead of schedule. However, people, I think, are speculating a little. They're thinking ahead of schedule means something way other than what it does. People were like, oh, maybe we're getting that in the next month or so. It is not that far ahead of schedule. It's a little ahead of schedule. There is a page on on sourcehorseman.com. It's also actually right on the homepage that has all of the latest information on releases. We try to be very, very transparent with that. So that is all there as well. I believe Cosmic is still listed as Q4 this year or Q1 2023. So it is ahead of schedule, but not wildly so. But that's certainly better than the alternative, right? Alithia fell behind schedule because of some delays at the tooling factory. This is ahead of schedule, so always a great place to be. Will reinforcements get restocked eventually, Drew asks. So reinforcements are an interesting thing. You know, I did see some people on Saturday when some sellouts happened joking around about, you know, oh, I guess they're not evergreen. Being behind the scenes, I can tell you so much changes based on a number of factors. Sometimes things get said, and that is legitimately the plan. That's the best of intentions. And then other things happen to change those plans, or just reality strikes. You know, the idea of evergreen, I've said this numerous times, there's no way these were always going to be in stock. The only way anything can ever be in stock is if you are producing quickly based on orders. And that's not obviously what these figures are. So especially considering the supply chain challenges that the entire world is experiencing right now, the idea of these being legit evergreen or always in stock is ridiculous. However, when the name reinforcements was established, the idea was that this would be something that had some regular frequency to it. Something like, you know, when you think about reinforcements, they come, they bolster your forces, they help you whatever you are experiencing, what customizing battle you are fighting at that moment. But then as they start to fade away and as the battle starts to level off again, hopefully you wait for that next wave of reinforcements. So yes, the plan is that eventually the studio would love to do another wave of reinforcements, whether it's these, some of these new ones, but that all remains to be seen. As of right now, the focus is on the 2022 schedule. So exactly where future reinforcements play into that remains to be seen. Okay, let's see. Yep, Hooded Mouse head will be out. Very, very cool. Someone was asking about snowshoes. I'm not sure what that was about. Bald Nate, Bald Knight. McFly, are you going to do customs of the reinforcements and how we can customize them when they ship? You know what? I totally am. So I actually have some ideas planned for some segments, some shows around reinforcements. I'll tell you right now, one of the ones that I want to do is I want to do a night when I get my reinforcements. I'm going to probably just sit here and pop and swap for an hour and a half. And I'm just going to show you some possible combinations of some things that literally anybody can do just by mixing and matching some parts. And along the way, I will also give you some suggestions of, okay, if you want to take this to the next level, this little bit of paint here would change this up and make this maybe work even a little bit better. So McFly, I totally have plans to do that. I also have plans to do some really fun stuff with that that's going to be a little more interactive based on some requests I've had in the past. I don't want to reveal exactly what that is yet, but I will say that there will be an element of chance to it, an element of me being forced to get creative based on some random options, some random selections. So I definitely have some cool ideas for reinforcements once they are. Okay. Jeremy Wilson head on Legion Shop is so fun to paint. It's a great sculpt. Curtis killed that head recently. That Mean Joe head that he based off of an old 1970s football player. Very, very cool. Well, I got to read this one. Got my first Legion Shop delivery yesterday. It arrived so quick. I'm excited to paint my blacksmith gear. Gorilla Babies, thank you so much for your support of Legion Shop. I can't wait to see what you make. Let's talk about Minotaurs. So when I was thinking about tonight's topic, I actually did the Golden Minotaur custom that I showed today. And I'll bring that up right now. So earlier today, I posted this, and I actually did this custom a few weeks ago. So this is a custom that I called Mythoss the Golden Minotaur. I imagine him as being like the guardian of like the central bank of Mythos, right? So this financial institution, this is the golden badass that protects that institution from thieves like Sir Gerard. Love this. I did this in large part because of that honking big sword that he wields. That was a gift that I got from Anthony House Seal. So Anthony of the Toy Forge, he actually, this kind of, we call it the Tower Sword, but we actually sell one on Legion Shop. We sold one where this sword goes into a shield. We sell this sword by itself. This particular one that the Minotaur is wielding here is actually a little bit oversized. Anthony wanted to do one that was even bigger just to test it out. So he printed it and he actually painted this. He painted that sword and he sent it to me, did an amazing job. And I was so excited for it that I was like, I've got to do something cool with this sword. What kind of character should wield this? So I came up with this design here, this Golden Minotaur. And I figured, you know what? When I post this, maybe I'll do a show about Minotaurs. And I started looking at all of the Minotaur customs that I've done, and I realized I've done quite a few of them. And they're some of my favorite pieces. And it was almost accidental that I've done as many as I have. Like when I say that, there are some customs that I do a lot of, and it's very intentional. Goblins. When Advent of Decay first hit, I loved the goblins. And I imagine, the kingdom of Gob Hollow that's under the Grey Vein Mountains in the realm of Mythos. I imagine that just being an incredibly diverse, super, super populated type area of goblins, which is right in line with the official lore. It actually says that the legions of goblins are so much bigger than people realize inside of this area called Gob Hollow. So I loved that idea right from the beginning. So I wanted to make a ton of goblins. That was very intentional. I've also done other series like my samurai customs, right? So I called them my Mythic Shoguns. I did this years ago where I created a whole series of figures that were very samurai inspired. And I did a goblin, and I did a shadow elf, and I did, a dwarf and a warrior. I did all these different races, an ogre, a skeleton, vampire, intentional. I never sat down and said, I want to do a whole bunch of Minotaurs. It just never happened. I've done them slowly, one at a time. And now I'm at the point where I look at the body of work and I'm like, wow, these are super cool. I really, really like these a lot. So I am excited. I want to talk about Minotaurs tonight. And interestingly, I think Minotaurs are a very important part of not only Mythic Legions, but Four Horsemen Studios. And the reason for that is because of this guy right here. So if you are not familiar with this character, this is Mythic. This is the very first Four Horsemen Studios original character that they released. This is from a much older line they have called Seventh Kingdom. So if you know a little bit about the history of Four Horsemen Studios, as my guys go toppling down, if you know about the history of Four Horsemen Studios, when they founded the studio, I mean, they were design studios. So they were doing work for Mattel. Obviously, over the years, they've done work for so many companies: Mattel, Hasbro, NECA, Sideshow Collectibles, Super 7, you name it, they've probably worked with them. However, they, as toy fans themselves, they had these designs that they wanted to create their own toy lines. And they did that through a process called the Fantastic Exclusive voting process. This was a super cool process where fans got to select all the different aspects of the figure. So the first thing is they put up a bunch of different properties, right? Seventh Kingdom, Gothtropolis, Symbiotech, all these different properties, and fans got to vote on one. And then once they chose Seventh Kingdom, here's a bunch of characters. They chose the Minotaur, Mythic, so on and so forth. So this was the first figure that they ever put out. Much, much limited numbers than we would certainly see today with Mythic Legions. And it was actually done at a time before Kickstarter, before pre-orders, long before, the Source Horsemen and Store Horsemen that we know today. I got that figure when it first came out. I was part of that voting process, not behind the scenes the way I am now, but as a fan. I've long said that that's where I come from. I come from being a huge fan of Four Horsemen Studios work. And it started all the way with that figure. I've had it in my collection. This is, like many collectors, I have a lot of pieces that, I get in the collection. I have it for a period of time, and I sell it off to make room or to make money to get new pieces. I have some pieces that I've purchased, put on display, sold, and then repurchased later because I regretted getting rid of it. That we've all probably done that. Mythic is a figure that has never left my collection. I've had him since, 2005? Had him since he was first launched. Super, super cool. So Minotaurs, I think, play an important role in Four Horsemen Studios history. And as you would expect, when we got to the first Mythic Legions Kickstarter, we got a Minotaur, and that was this Minotaur here, Asterion. So super popular character. Let me hold him up here. He was not only in the first Mythic Legions wave, he was also one of the original Mythic Legions All-Stars. So that first All-Stars wave was very different than subsequent waves. It was the only All-Star wave that fans didn't vote on. It was decided on by the studio right after 1.0 shipped because they saw that there was a sudden demand for a number of figures. And really two kinds of figures made it into All-Stars. Figures that were severely underproduced in 1.0, but which, now that they had been delivered, were suddenly on everyone's want list. Sardonaceous and on Steelhide being two of those. And then there were also figures that were actually really popular in that first wave, but fans wanted more of. The Barbarian Builder, and Asterion the Minotaur being two examples of that. So he has always been a very popular figure, which is no surprise. Not only is he super cool and awesome, but he's a kind of character that I think fans, they see something they recognize in it that hasn't been incredibly overdone, right? That was, remember, one of the great things about Mythic Legions when it first came out was at that point, outside of like Lord of the Rings Toy Biz, we didn't have knight figures. We didn't have like skeleton figures. Those were brand new types of things that we really had never seen. And there were two real fantasy archetypes that fans wanted on their shelves. Minotaur, I think, is another one that we really didn't have any of. So super cool to get him in the line. The next Minotaur we got, and I'm gonna get to the customs in a moment, is this guy right here, Taurian, the Shadow Minotaur. So Taurian was first released in the Covenant of Shadow wave, right? That was one of the early waves in Mythic Legions, and it's essentially the same build as Asterion, different shoulder pads, different colors. One of the things I love about Taurian, and I've always loved this about Taurian, is the black body. Now, Taurian has recently been re-released as an All-Star. He was in the All-Stars 3 wave. So he's more readily available, certainly, than like an Asterion. So a lot of the customs we're going to look at tonight actually use this figure as the base. More readily available, and I love that black base body because, like I said, when I was talking about the Bronze Dwarf Legion builder earlier, that black dark body works as a great base to dry brush and paint stuff on top of. So that's where we start with Minotaurs. Those are the standard Minotaurs in the line. Going to get to customs in one moment, but I see a ton of questions coming in. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to see what people are saying. Okay, so Anthony actually asking people if we should make a larger version of the Tower Sword. That's this big honker right here. Super, super cool. Let's see. Would a Minotaur Centaur work? So the problem is the Centaur body, that upper body is brute scale. These are 1.0. They don't work. They don't fit. I actually have a video where when I got the the Atheon test shot, right? When I first got that horse test shot, I actually did a video where I pulled it apart and I showed a test shot of a Fury Clan orc torso on it and actually of an Ogre Legion builder. So you could see how the 1.0 was definitely too small. The Ogre was a little too big. That brute scale being in the middle really, really works. So would a Minotaur Centaur work? I mean, yeah, it's a crazy kind of character. It would work. It would be cool, but I don't think we have the parts to actually do it yet. Venom Bane saying, never thought I would love Minotaurs as a figure. Forceman Studios, thank you for proving me wrong. The figures were amazing. Minotaurs need to make a comeback someday. Okay. Love Seventh Kingdom. Star saying, can those horns be removed and will those heads fit on the female Bardies? I like to see a few cows to go along with the bull. So I'm not going to talk about Seventh Kingdom Zethius because that's a totally different kind of figure. Yes, the horns on the Minotaurs are removable. These horns actually do pop out very, very simply. They are a different size than the regular helmet attachments. So like say the Barbarian, right? That helmet attachments that, you can put the big horns, the bat wings, and the feathered wings. They are a different size than these, which I'm going to talk about in a few moments. So they are actually different. I think, don't quote me, but I think that the new helmet attachments in the Deluxe Legion Builder line, those are actually closer in size to these. So some of those attachments may work with the bulls. As far as the heads, the heads are going to look really big on a female body. It's probably going to look a little comical. So I don't know if these heads will work for what you're talking about doing there. Asterion is the best. Moo. Humongous Minotaur. We'll talk about that in a moment. I would love a bigger version of that sword. Okay. So again, the first custom I did, the first Minotaur custom was actually a Shadow Minotaur, because when I looked at the Shadow Minotaur, I was like, that's a cool figure, but that armor is not going to allow him to blend into the shadows. This dude is wearing some of the most blinged out armor I think the entire line has. It's super cool. I love using this armor for certain reasons. I mean, I think the figure as is looks super darn cool, right? But my first idea for a custom Minotaur, a Shadow Minotaur, I wanted to take that body, pull off all of that shiny blue armor, and replace it with the really like matte jet black armor from the Barbarian Builder Kit. So that was the first one I did. So let me bring that up here. And this is actually a really, really old photo. I only have this one. So this is the first one I did, where I took the Taurian figure. All I did here was I did paint the gem on his chest. I painted that a little bit, so I felt it worked better with this color. You will notice that he's got the super large horns on there. So I wanted this, kind of evil shadow character to stand out against Asterion. So what I did was I took some of those large horns, and I just very easily dremeled the holes to widen the holes on the side of the Minotaur's head. I widened that, and then a little bit of glue, I popped those horns in there. That hammer is actually an old McFarlane piece. It came with they did a weird line called like Legends of the Zodiac or something. And they actually had a Taurus figure. They had a bull figure. That weapon is from that particular figure. So this was one of the first ones I did. And it is absolutely an LBC, a Lazy Boy custom. It is mostly pop and swap, right? Again, very, very early on. This is one of my earlier customs where all I did was pop on the armor pieces from a Barbarian Builder Kit, paint the jewel in front, and then widen the horns, ports in the head to put those large black horns in there. That was the first one I did. Now, I kept this in my collection for quite a while, but there was a point that I got an idea to do another custom. And it was actually before the Taurians had started shipping. Because like a lot of Mythic Legions figures, right? Something that is readily available one day is suddenly terribly hard to find the next. That's kind of the way that Mythic Legions figures work, right? Don't ever take for granted everyone right now that's saying like, oh, reinforcement goblins and skeletons, yeah, they got a bunch of those in stock, no worries. Mark my words, there's going to be a point, probably not too far from now, where everyone's going to be looking for those two figures, and they're suddenly going to be hard to find. Once the supply dries up, they're very, very difficult, because Mythic Legions is so much different than other toy lines because of us, right? Because of customizers. Like, a whole bunch of these figures can enter the market, but think about this. What percentage of them remain intact? So how many bronze dwarves or how many goblins or how many, Templars or Black Knights enter the market to customizers who then take them and use them as fuel for our ideas? Well, now if someone wants a Black Knight, that's not available. It's not like other lines where, I mentioned earlier, people oftentimes will get something for their collection and then down the road sell it because their collecting habits have changed, or they want to make room, or they want to raise money. Mythic Legions, while people certainly do all of those things, the ones that they customize are such a different format that if someone's just looking for that base figure for either their collection or their custom ideas, they're gone. So Really, really different. And that happens time. I've been around Mythic Legions obviously since day one, and I have seen it so many times. I've seen figures literally that were easy to find at one point become $200-300 figures. It's crazy. Torian hit that point where he went from being pretty easy to find and customize to being hard to find. So I got this idea of a figure I really wanted to do. I didn't have a Torian because it was before All Stars 3 shipped. I sacrificed my demon, but I think I sacrificed him for a good reason. And if you just saw that demon custom, you'll see a lot of similarity between the demon and the next custom Minotaur I did, and that would be my Fury Clan Minotaur. Now, we're getting to the point where some of these are things I've certainly shown on my show before. I did a whole show quite some time ago about the Fury Clan and about the idea of painting different characters to be Fury Clan members. And it was all based off a comment that Cornboy made on the My Wife Is Going to Kill Me podcast, where he said the Fury Clan, which if you know the Fury Clan, this guy right here. And let me hold 1 second. There we go. This guy right here. The Fury Clan Orc, right? The Fury Clan Orc, this was a figure that super cool. Loved this character. Cornboy mentioned that the Fury Clan is not exclusive to orcs, that there are other races in Mythos that are part of the Fury Clan. So as customizers, that's something that really sparked our imagination, where we started saying like, well, what would the other races look like as the Fury Clan? So I've done a whole bunch of Fury Clan figures over the years. This was one of the first ones. And again, really, really similar, where what you can see here is I just took that Torian, I painted it red. Those are the same horns that are still in there. It's actually even the same chest piece with that same jewel. I just painted the neck area red on that. It does use Fury Clan arms and legs. Those armor pieces are off of an old World of Warcraft Arthas figure, but he also uses the hammer. So this is one that I really, really like. These are, interestingly, a lot of times when I show customs, I show a lot of things that I've done that are no longer in the collection. Outside of the Shadow Minotaur that I just showed that became this Fury Clan, all of these are still in my collection because I love them that much. So super, super simple. And this is an example of what I'm saying, why I love Torian. So let me show you something. If you don't have a Minotaur figure, I'll show you a little something here because they are a slightly different build. If you look at the Minotaur, they've got this large neck piece. It is actually a different attachment. So if you pull the head of a Minotaur off, what you will find is he's got that same bare-chested torso that you see on a lot of Mythic Legions figures. The Barbarian Builder, for instance, that same piece there. But because this maybe just didn't look imposing enough, what the studio wanted to do was really bulk up those shoulders. So what's really cool here is, if you remember, the way that Mythic Legions work, you got these back ports to put that armor on. Well, what happens with this attachment, you've got this little piece which just flips, sits right on top of the neck post there, okay? And it still has portholes in the back that you can put in that armor. But then the head sits right on top, and it gives you that bulky piece there. Now, again, all of that black, super easy to work with. Just a little bit of dry brushing. In this case, dry brushing red helped me create this. A little bit of dry brushing, and I've got my Fury Clan Minotaur. Now, I mentioned that I've looked at a number of these or done some of these on my show in the past. This next one I'm going to show, I actually did live on Mythic Conversations. If you go back and look at some of my archives, which, by the way, I've got a whole YouTube channel of videos. a lot of people are saying that they're new to Mythic Legions. They're just joining my show for the first time, or they just placed an order for the first time. If you want to do a massive deep dive, check out some of my older videos. My friend Curtis Ackerman, who's been around the Legions for a little while now, he just recently said that he's going back and watching all of my Mythic Conversations episodes sequentially, right? So tonight is episode 78. 78 episodes of me babbling about Legions. And that is actually 78 here on YouTube. If you go back and you look at my catalog, there's actually a number of shows that I did prior to moving the show over to YouTube, that I did it on Facebook. So there's even some early Mythic Legions episodes. If you do go back, bear with me. Some of those episodes, early episodes, are hard to watch. Not only do I not have my beard, that's different. I look back at some of those episodes and I am very, very baby-faced in them because I do look much younger without the beard. But there are absolutely some horrible camera and audio issues in some of those early episodes. Bear with me. The energy is still there. Hopefully the creativity is still there. Hopefully you'll enjoy it. You just have to get through some of those really rough patches. Trust me, it gets to a point where we get over the hump and it gets better. But this next custom was from a more recent episode. And it was, once again, using Taurian, which what I wanted to do was actually show how I could turn a Taurian into a totally different character, a totally different kind of Minotaur. And one of my favorites, let me bring him up right now, this character here. Now, this is an interesting project because not only did I want to do an Arctic type Minotaur, but this is also a bit of a tribute on my end as well. I talked about those original Seventh Kingdom Minotaurs. Well, even back then, during those earliest days of Four Horsemen Studios and their projects, their releases, they were thinking, how can we get more use out of these parts? So that original Minotaur wave not only included Zethius, but it also included a number of variants of Zethius, including one that was painted very similar to what you see on screen, called the Protector of the Icy Tundra. And it was very much an Arctic, ice type Minotaur. So for this particular character, what I wanted to do was not only create a new look for the Minotaur, a totally different kind of look, but I also wanted to create something that was a bit of a tribute, a bit of a deep cut back to one of those early figures. If you go back and you watch that video, you will see how this figure came together. But this thing absolutely started as a Taurian. I did do some things different to just make it unique. And it shows here that neck piece that I just showed you, not only can you put that on the bare chest, which is what it was meant for, in this particular case, I actually put it on an armored chest, and it works. It absolutely still works there. That, what you're seeing there for that face, similar to the Fury Clan, that is just some dry brushing right on top of the black of Taurian. And then just some of those little ice effects. I like to do that with some of my icy type figures. A little bit of dry brushing to get kind of that like windswept, snow swept type look on some of the edges of the armor, or in this case, the loin piece. So figure I very, very much like there, that now you're starting to see, okay, I didn't plan this. I wasn't like, oh, I'm going to do all these different kinds of Minotaurs. This is starting to happen organically. But I've got my Fury Clan, which if you want to do a fire Minotaur, very, very similar. I saw, I believe, Melissa Somerville recently posted, today actually, posted like a magma type Minotaur that, my Fury Clan doesn't look like it's fire. Hers did. It was painted with yellows and oranges along with reds. Super, super cool idea. So ice Minotaur, fire Minotaur, lava Minotaur, all cool stuff that you can do. I'm going to check back some of the comments here, see what people are talking about. Yes, the basement episodes. Mindless Focus saying, I hear he hangs out with wings. I did actually take a picture of him with red wings on. You know, Red Bull give you wings. I felt I had to. Okay. Okay. So I'm back to where people are talking about the Fury Clan, Crimson Minotaur. Rich saying, actually, I just watched that Fury episode. Made me want to make the Fury Minotaur with my last Taurian. I think I want to make a black and white barnyard looking Minotaur. They actually, so back to those Seventh Kingdom figures, there is actually a cow figure. It's called the Royal Guardsman. It was the hardest to find of the entire run. It was exclusive actually to Store Horsemen at the time, many years ago. It was the hardest one for me to find. It took me years to actually locate it. I do have one. It's the only one I haven't opened. It's actually hanging on my wall right over there. Gorilla Baby saying, I watch old Mythic Conversations episodes when I get ready to work in the morning. That's cool. Awesome. I love that. I painted a farm style bull before Star. Yep, that's right. Yeah, Drew has done that now that he mentions it. I have seen that, and like everything Drew does, it looks awesome. Curtis saying, I'm on episode 6. So Curtis is the one I just said was going back and watching all of them. I'm on episode 6. I've already had to buy so much fodder I didn't even know about. Just got my Shadowrun Max Rigger today. A lot of those old episodes, because you remember, when I was first doing those episodes a couple of years ago, it was before the explosion of 3D parts that we have today. So a lot of those early episodes are me talking about using other figure lines like Lord of the Rings, Articulated Icons, Samurais, World of Warcraft, and then just weird random stuff like Shadowrun. So it is funny, Curtis, that you mentioned that, going back and saying, like, trust me, when I was posting that stuff, that everyone would tell me that. Everyone would be like, so I saw someone at ToyCon one day and he said, that's hysterical because he used to go to toy shows looking for like new figures that were coming out, like new figures that he hadn't gotten yet. And he says, now I'm looking for the most obscure stuff in bargain bins because that's where it all shows up. But all these obscure figures that nobody knows about that I found a use for and customized. That comment was super cool for me to hear. I love doing stuff like that. Okay. Thank you, Christo, telling me that the beard brings it together. Awesome. Okay. I like the 2 Tribute Seventh Kingdom figures you did. Yeah, we're going to look at one more in a minute. Any way to repaint the gem on the chest to make it look like another colored gem, like clear, not paint looking? Well, it's not clear to begin with, so you're not going to get like a transparent type look out of it because it's not a transparent piece. If you really wanted to get funky and you wanted to do something, you could drill it out. You could absolutely drill. I mean, because it's a separate piece, right? So if you wanted to, and you really, I mean, this is customizing, right? Not everything needs to be an LBC. If you want to take it to the next level, you can do that. If you drilled and dremeled out that gem, you could actually, put another actual gem right in there if you wanted to go for that. So can't really modify this one just through paints to make it look like you're talking about, but there's definitely a way you could make it happen. Dan saying, I love the early episodes. There was something organic about them. They have their charm, that's for sure. Speaking of charm, let's look at this guy. Another tribute to those old Seventh Kingdom figures. After I did the Protector of the Icy Tundra, I said, well, which other ones do they have? And they have another one called the Keeper of the Black Labyrinth, which is like a grayish type Minotaur. Unlike the Icy Tundra, which if you look at the original Icy Tundra figure, which I show in the video, the video that I actually did it, that one was a really kind of straight tribute to it. For the Black Labyrinth, I didn't want to just paint a Minotaur grayish. I wanted to rethink it a little bit. And this was right around the time that my friend Walter DeMarco did a a skeleton torso custom. And a lot of people were super excited about that skeleton torso. A lot of people were using it in different ways. I wanted to be different, right? So I didn't want to just put the skeleton torso right onto a skeleton and make, a fully skeletal character. I wanted to use it in a different way. And as I was thinking about this Minotaur, I said, well, why don't I make this really like an undead Minotaur? I didn't want to use bone limbs for it because I wanted him still to be bulky, but I wanted him to have a weird combination of living and dead parts. So and this is one of my favorites, this one and the one I'll show after this are probably my two favorite Minotaur customs I did. This became my Keeper of the Black Labyrinth. So you can see here, and I'll zoom in for a moment, you can see that is that skeleton torso from Walter DeMarco of Mass Customs, which was printed by Leonard Wolfking. I used that on, big surprise, a Taurian body once again. Those shoulder pads, those are just some armor pieces I had in my fodder bin that I repainted. And actually, those had to be glued. So there are some instances where, you're just going to take that path of least resistance and just use a little bit of glue to adhere something. They're not big armor pieces, so I couldn't wrap them around the back to try to plug them in. But I think they look pretty cool there. I also did this fun little thing with the loincloth. That's a trick that I picked up from my friend Zombie13. I saw him do something similar, and that became a little effect that I like to do. And the head, something about just that eye paint, just that little black looking like tear coming down, and it's on both sides, but there's something that just looked sinister and evil about that, deadly, that I just thought made this into a really, really cool character. So this is one that I really like. And I almost imagine it just being like the fact that he's got that upper bulky piece, but then his rib cage is showing. I don't know, just something about this weird undead looking Minotaur worked really, really well for me. Thank you, Curtis, saying best use of the skelly torso, hands down. Definitely, I would say, I don't know how to say best. Definitely a unique one. I haven't seen anyone else do it, so I'm always excited about that. But I really, really do like this one. And this is, I think you're starting to hopefully see now the kinds of different customs you can do with this. One I haven't done that you could totally do is painted purple. So if you've got a Purplor figure, you've already got a fully purple body. If you grab an extra Taurian and you paint the head and the neck piece purple and put that on a Purplor, you could totally have like a purple people eater. There you go, right there. Easy custom, purple people eater, combination of Purplor and Taurian. Could totally do that. Just by thinking about different colors, what can I do with different colors? What colors can I paint this Minotaur to create some new looks? That's an easy place to start. Kind of what I did when I did my All Stars 3 challenge. So this is another segment that I did here on Mythic Conversations. And if you remember that one, that was when I got All Stars 3 in and I gave myself the challenge that, you know what, back before all of the 3D parts, before even using pieces from other toy lines, it was really a lot of fun just to mix and match pieces from Mythic Legions itself. The best custom pieces to use on Mythic Legions are other Mythic Legions. So my All Stars 3 challenge was I got that wave in and I took 5 of the figures. I left out, obviously, the Troll, and I left out Darina because those particular parts are not compatible with the other 5 figures in the line. I took those 5 figures and I made 5 different customs, only using the parts in those All Stars 3 packages. I couldn't even use Mythic Legions figures from other waves. They had to be in those 5 packages. I made 5 unique figures. Still one of the most fun projects I've done in customizing. And from that set of figures, by far, my favorite one that I've done is right here, thinking about different colors that you can paint. I said, I'm going to paint them green and I'm going to create Toxian, the Toxic Minotaur. So this was one that, in all full disclosure here, this is the updated version. When I originally did it, he didn't have the cape, because that cape is, well, it is a Mythic Legions part. It is not from All Stars 3. So originally he didn't have the cape, but after the fact, I went back and added the cape to him. This is not an orc body. Again, I have to use All Stars 3 parts. So this is a Taurian body and head, limbs, fully repainted with that green dry brushing to get this look. The loin piece and the chest part and the shoulder armor, those are all from a Malleus. And I just added a bunch of green paint. So you can see the effects I did here on the axe. A lot of green, just taking different color greens and not even brushing it, just taking the brush and just like dabbing it on. I was super Bob Ross in it. I was just hitting it, like almost like I didn't have a fan brush. I should have got a fan brush to do this, but close enough to get that kind of poison effect. Another thing I really like is what I did on the loin here, where I just cut some holes, and around where those holes are, I painted some really bright green, almost to make it look like acid had eaten it away. I also like what I did on his hooves there, just a little bit of green dry brushing and kind of that speckling to get that almost like poison-like look. So this is, like, again, this is probably my favorite of the Minotaur customs that I have done. But again, looking at the whole body of work here, I did not plan this. So when I was thinking about tonight, I was thinking about doing this, and I'll bring up one more time. I'll bring up that Golden Minotaur, because the Golden Minotaur is worth looking at again and talking about. This is actually a pretty easy custom. I think it came out pretty well, but it's a really easy custom to execute. This is a Magnus body. I mean, totally a Magnus body. I swapped in some hooves. All I had to do was paint the kind of the cuffs around the top of the hooves. I painted that gold to match the body there. To make the shoulders look a little bit different, super easy trick that I've done a number of times. If you've got, I don't know, say a number of extra Goblin Legion builders, because maybe you bought them in reinforcements, those Goblin Legion builders come with two heads. One of the heads, the fully masked head, comes with that spike. Comes with a spike that's removable on the back of the head. Well, guess what? That spike is what you see on the shoulder pads of this Minotaur. All I did was take a small drill bit, drill a little bit of hole, and let me show you right here. I just drilled a little hole right in the shoulder pauldron, and then I just pegged that right in. They're actually not even glued. They're totally removable. Just a little hole right there, peg this right in, and it gives it that extra look, that extra bit of bulk on his shoulders that make it look different than anything else in the line, right? A little bit of craft store fur on the back to make that, that kind of back look a little bit differently, and then just some dry brushing, couple layers of dry brushing gold on the head to get the Golden Minotaur look. Super, super LBC, but it works really, really well. And again, it all started because of this sword from Anthony. Sometimes that's all it takes for me. I get a piece and I'm like, wow, this is a really cool piece. How do I want to use it? Inspiration comes from different places. Sometimes, again, I'm doing a tribute figure and I'm going for something specific. Sometimes I'm just playing. I'm challenging myself like All Stars 3. Sometimes I get a piece like this sword and it says, I need someone worthy to wield this weapon. Who's that warrior going to be? And then sometimes you do all these projects and you end up with a whole stable of Minotaur that you didn't realize you were actually doing them. You didn't realize you were doing this many, but when all's said and done, you have a Fury Minotaur and an Ice Minotaur, you have a dead one, you have a toxic one, not to mention the original ones from the line. That's where I stand today. So Minotaurs, a lot of fun little conversation for the week to just look at some of the possibilities that you can make with this line. Now, I did see a number of people say, You know what? I wish the Minotaur would be bigger. I wish we had a larger Minotaur because I picture, the classic Minotaur from Greek mythology guarding the labyrinth. I picture that Minotaur being larger. Well, one thing that I will point out, especially for people that may be new to Mythic Legions, you may not have seen this in the past. This is a wonderful piece of artwork from Nate Barch. This piece of artwork is called Siege at Bjorngar. It was the artwork that graced the packaging of the Siege at Bjorngar wave. Now, that was the first wave that we ever got the ogre scale figures in. Quick plug, this beautiful print is actually available at legionshop.com right now. A number of Nate's pieces are available at Legion Shop, but if you're looking at this and you're like, holy heck, that is an awesome piece of artwork, I want one for myself, yeah, you know where to get it. But the reason I'm bringing it up today, the reason it is relevant to this conversation is right here. So look at this piece of artwork, because if you look at this artwork, you'll notice we've got the Barbarian and we've got Freya of Deadhall. We've got Thord Ironjaw. Obviously, we've got, Atlas the Conqueror. We've got Ragnar Stormforger, Balthar the Tower. Those are all figures we have seen. But then we've got this guy back here. And what's interesting is if you look at this character, you can see some pieces on that character. Look at that chest plate. That chest armor is absolutely the armor that we have seen on ogres. Look at that neck piece. That neck piece is very much the neck piece that we have seen on the Equidron figures. So interestingly, as people wonder, are we ever going to get an ogre scale Minotaur? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, but I can tell you that looking at this piece of artwork, it looks like there is an ogre scaled Minotaur at least hanging out in those frozen wastelands of Bjorngar. So who knows what the future of the line will hold. So that is my topic for the week. That's what I want to talk about. As I mentioned, once I do get reinforcements in hand, I have some really cool shows that I want to do for that, including just some mixing and matching, some popping and swapping. I already have some ideas. Mixing Sir Gerard, because I will throw Sir Gerard in the mix. Mixing Sir Gerard with a Black Knight's going to be a lot of fun. Obviously, Skeleton and Templar, we've done that before. Barbarian and Bronze Dwarf. There are tons of possibilities that I already have in my head. So once they come in and we start playing around, I'll do it live on the air and hopefully give you some ideas as well. Before I go, I'm going to go back to the comments, and I do have some time, so I am happy to answer your questions. A Cobra Kai Minotaur? I don't know what a Cobra Kai Minotaur is. But I'm all for anything Cobra Kai because that show is awesome. That show has no right to be as awesome as it is. It is a show based on like a 1980s movie that was not that good. And that show is absolutely one of my guilty pleasures. I love Cobra Kai. Okay. Going back. Brute scaled Minotaur monk. Yeah, that's a cool idea. I love combining things like that don't seem to go together. Years ago, I played a Goliath monk barbarian in a Dungeons and Dragons campaign, and he was just a walking set of like contradictions. I loved him. We need ogre scale Minotaurs, brute scale Minotaurs. I love Jeremy's challenges. Thank you, Joe. I'm fond of them myself. On that note, I will tell you, I'm loving where I'm going in 2022 so far. My customizing energy has never been better than it has been this year. I'm really trying to mix up. A couple weeks ago when I talked about challenges, I talked about pushing myself to do bigger projects and more ambitious projects, to spend more time on customs. I am doing that, and I'm super excited with some of the work that I've been doing. Along the same time, though, I'm still not getting away from LBCs because I love doing stuff like this. This is an easy custom that literally anyone watching at home that is like, that's a cool piece, I wish I could do that. You can. This is super, super easy to do. Super easy to do. So knowing how to get started, seeing those easy lazy boy customs that still produce something really cool for your shelf, I'm not getting away from those. I'm going to do those, but I'm loving 2022 because I'm mixing it up and I'm doing some more ambitious projects that I can't wait to show you alongside pieces like that. Green Minotaur tells a super compelling story. I agree. I like him a lot. Adrian, welcome back from work. You catch the replay, no problem. People say they would love Asterion to come back out again. Yes, I know a number of people who missed out on Asterion who would love to have him back. Joe saying I bought a couple pieces of the art, great quality and look amazing. Yeah, when you frame Nate's art, it looks stunning. I say it looks stunning. It looks stunning anyway, but it looks more stunning. Stunninger. It looks stunninger. More stunning. It looks more stunning when you put it in a frame. Bard Minotaur. Yup, again. Death by Mexico. Who did I order the most of in the new builder wave? Goblin, actually. Yep, Goblin. I ordered equal amounts of Black Knights, Skeletons, and Dwarves, but the Goblin is the one that I went heaviest on. Because again, to each their own. Someone like, say, Neil Wickman and Steve, they're super into their God's Fire stuff. So I could see them really wanting lots of Templars because they want to fuel that whole God's Fire kind of series that they have going. Makes a lot of sense. As I mentioned at the top, I don't use the Templar body as much. So for me, I use Goblins so frequently that it made sense for me to really kind of stock up on those little guys. Rich saying, I came in late to the show. Is Sir Gerard ever going to be released with no limits? I do not think so, Rich. So you never know what the future will hold, but Sir Gerard is not, he's not part of a wave. So I did see some people saying like, oh, I'm going to get Sir Gerard when he hits Big Bad Toy Store or when he hits the retailers. That's not the plan for this guy. If you were watching Legion's Lounge on Monday, Chris from Full Horseman Studios was in the comments, and he literally said in no uncertain terms, you won't see Sir Gerard again. So maybe if he's in an all-star wave in the future, but I don't even know. He might not even qualify for all-stars waves. Remember, this was meant to be a show version figure for Legion's Con because the studio doesn't want to do true exclusives. They don't want people who can't get to a show to not have any shot at a character. They did also do the standard run and make them available to fans as well. But if you're looking for it to be available in a pre-order type fashion where you can order unlimited amounts, I do not think that is in the cards for this elusive guy. Okay. Hope we get some farmer figs. I'm actually working on a farmer right now, or a gardener, I guess I could say. Moss-covered Minotaur. Any other sales this weekend for other Legion builders? Nope. Reinforcements. Takes a while for these things to get produced. Reinforcements is really the one. Most excited for Barbarian. Yeah, he's super popular. Know a lot of people were excited to finally get their hands on the Barbarian because he was I mentioned this the other day on the live stream with Chris. The Barbarian is such a weird figure because this is the fourth legit release. 1.0, All-Stars 1, Avon of Decay, they screwed up, and the factory, instead of sending the female barbarians, they sent barbarian builder packs again. So it had an accidental third release, and now the fourth release as a reinforcement. But still, I would not be surprised once this quantity are out there and people have them. There will be a point a year or so from now where he'll be probably super desirable again. He's one of those figures that people just cannot seem to get enough of. Yeah, will there be more Gerards at Zolo or ToyCon? Possibly. You never know what's going to make it to the Four Horsemen table at the shows. So if you are heading out to ZoloCon or ToyCon, who knows what you'll see there. ZoloCon is March 5th and 6th. The next ToyCon is March, I think, 25th and 26th. I may be slightly off on the dates. They're all accurate on sourcehorseman.com. Daniel, yep, goblins I run out of as well. Justin, if I could do a Motu tribute figure, which I would pick at a character that hasn't been done yet. So if I could pick a Motu character that hasn't been done yet, who would it be? Probably Merman. Merman has always been one of my favorites. I actually saw a really awesome, like, armored merman recently on the Cabal, where someone used like the armored dwarf head and the spiky shoulders from Vorthog. Just made an awesome merman character. So if I had to pick a Motu tribute to do, that would be the one that I would probably choose. And I'm not saying I would do that exact build, although that build was genius. That would be my one. What's the next big thing that I can speak about? I can't speak about anything until we officially announce it. Is the garden name Sir Hagen? Dave, it is now. It's not Sir Hagen, but I'm going to call. So I'll tell you, it's literally my garden gnome. So I'm turning my garden gnome. I mean, the gnome set that's coming out, one of them is legit a garden gnome. And I'm like, I'm going to make him a gardener gnome. And I am going to call him Hagen. Very good idea. Thank you for that. Thanks, Jeremy, for the fun, creativity, and positivity. Absolutely happy to do it. Merman, yes. They already did Battle Cat. I mean, they did Kawaros. Awesome. I have not heard of Turbo Dork paints, JV. That's the literally first time I've ever heard of it. The next paints, I know a lot of people are using the So Flat paints, which they use at the studio. So that was something recently. The paints that Sherry at the studio used to use cartoon cell paints that she loved. They stopped making them. So I know that she was searching for a replacement when a lot of people talked to both Sherry and Cameron when they were there for Intern for a Day in November. And I remember Cameron actually talking about these paints called So Flat that he really likes a lot. A little limited on the color selection. Out of the bottle, of course, you can mix. Little limited, but really, really, apparently, as the name suggests, super flat matte paints that they're using a lot more. I know a few people, Lord Steven has picked some up recently and seems to really be enjoying using them. Like any other tool, any other paint, there's certain instances where they're probably great, other instances where they might not be the right choice, but always cool to have additional options. Yeah, I don't do much with color shift paints. It's something that I've had in my agenda to find a project for, but I haven't done it yet. Curtis actually reinforcing the comments. He says, I've been using So Flat. They're amazing paints. Great look. Yeah, absolutely. Any updates on Legion's Con or Intern for a Day? Nothing super big. We did announce a couple additional exhibitors that are going to be coming. Mike if you've ever been out to PowerCon, you've probably seen the customs of Mythic, known for his Masters of the Universe and as well as his Mythic Legions customs. Super excited to have him on board. Creative Beast Studios will be back this year. They were there last year. So we announced a handful of different people that are going to be there. Paul's Customs. So check that out, legionscon.com. And I believe I actually have one of those banners here. Let's see. Do I? Yeah, there we go. legionscon.com. Other than that, no additional announcement. There are still some hotel rooms in our block. We got a few more added, I think. So we do still have some rooms. So no problem there. If you want to stay at the venue hotel, really, Nate, right now, the biggest challenge with Legions Con is me keeping my mouth shut, because there is stuff that's happening behind the scenes, but I have to be aware that it's January and Legions Con is in November. There's a lot of time to get through. If I announce everything now, it's going to leave me shorthanded with stuff to build up that excitement. So I'm trying to practice restraint, and I'm trying not to just tell everybody everything, other than there's a lot of cool stuff to tell you. So wait for it. But as I have more Legions Con information to share, I will certainly do so. Same thing with Intern for a Day, with G-Con 2022. All of that, as we get a little bit closer, we'll know more about. The next Intern for a Day is actually April 2nd. And that is the other Intern for a Day. If you backed Intern for a Day during the Mythic Legions Tactics campaign, you had to pick either the November date or April 2nd. So that April 2nd is the final one of that. Whatever happens for Intern for a Day in November is totally unrelated. They're two separate things completely. Okay. Very cool. Eric, yes, Eric is West Coast, so he certainly has seen Mythic out there as well. Can't wait to give you another big two, Eric. Eric LeBron, another returning Legions Con exhibitor. Yeah, Justin, more independent toy makers coming to Legions Con. We do have a couple announced so far. Like I said, Creative Beast Studios is going to be there. Trying to remember who else. Chris Garch will be there with his thing that he's doing. Spiro will be there with Animal Warriors of the Kingdom. So there'll be more as we get closer. There's a couple others that I'm talking to right now, but that whole independent toy creator showcase is something that we're super excited about to be able to bring there, because there's literally such amazing stuff happening in that space. Josh Van Pelt and his crew from Formo Toys, really excited for what we've got going. I'm not sure, Greg, what you're asking. Tables at 2021 Legions Con, are you asking if there's anyone from 2021 that's not back for 2022? There are a few tables. There are a few people that were 2021 that haven't answered me yet, but no one has said no. And if you look at the guest list on legionscon.com, you will see that it is almost everyone from 2021. In addition, a number of new people. And there's actually a bunch of guests that we've already signed up that I haven't put on the website yet, because, again, trying to space that out a little bit. So the guest list is actually even larger than what you see on the website. Just going through comments, see if I have anything else. Yes, Josh, Intern in April is the 2nd, which is on the Saturday. I think I did say the 1st in the past, and I don't know why I thought it was April Fool's Day. I guess I was playing a joke. I really wasn't. I screwed up. April 1st is a Friday. Intern is actually on a Saturday. But if anyone who signed up for it, the official actual form from the people that do it, the game team, that they're the ones that you signed up with, their form said April 2nd. So they were very, very clear. Awesome. I would love to have a House of the Noble Bear and Red Sun's Wave, Axel says. I agree. I love those factions. I've long said those are my two favorite factions, because I love the neutral stuff, right? So I love factions where you can have characters that are somewhat morally ambiguous, characters that aren't, good and evil are really, really cool, but they're so absolute all the time. I like shades of gray. To me, those are shades of gray. With that, it is now 10 past 9. I'm going to call it an evening. I'm going to head out. This is one of those nights where I do have some stuff to put away. So get the stuff all put away. Get ready for whatever's next. It's going to be a great year. I'm super excited for 2022. So much cool stuff happening. I can't wait to share it with all of you. Obviously, if you're watching the show and you enjoy it, give the video a like, give the channel a like. If you're not subscribed already, what are you doing? I don't do this enough. I don't tell people to do all this all the time, but it really does help. Building up a subscriber count certainly gets the show and Four Horsemen Studios and Legions more exposure. All those are super, super good things. This is an amazing community, but it's still got so much growth that we can do. So let's do it together, right? Subscribe to the page, like the page, hit me up in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Same Mythic time, same Mythic channel. Thanks a lot, everyone. Have a good night. Wait for those reinforcements.